And joining us now on the air, you hear him every afternoon on Sports Talk Mississippi, our buddy Brian Hadad. How you doing, Brian?
Dave, good to be with you today. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine. And let's go right to the one. This came out, about an hour and a half ago. Kendall Rogers with D1 Baseball says he has sources that are outlining what's going to happen with baseball in the SEC, including eliminating the divisions and just cramming it all together. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, the SEC has made that official. They've basically set up the scheduling for everything but football at this point. You know, we're still waiting to see what the official word will be on football and who the permanents will be there. But yeah, the SEC will go to a 16-team, one division format. Each team will have 30 conference games, the same as they do now, but only 2 permanent opponents, and then the other 8 teams will rotate in and out on a yearly basis.
Okay. Now, that leaves football as potentially the lone major sport that will still have East and West divisions, right?
No, not that. Football is going to go to one division as well. There won't be East and West after all this. It'll just be the SEC, and because of the way they're going to set it up with the 3 permanents and 6 rotating, there just won't be divisions anymore.
Now, what brought this about? Is it because we keep adding teams?
Well, and it's kind of it becomes a geographical thing, right? Like at some point, I mean, Missouri is already in the East. Can you really put Texas or Oklahoma in the East to balance things out? But you know, it just doesn't make sense at that point. So with 16 teams, it just makes more sense to go to a 3 permanent, 6 rotating schedule and just lose the divisions. Top 2 teams in the conference will go to the SEC championship game.
Now, the rotating schedule, is that going to be a case to where, you know, every 3 years you rotate through and they were here last time, you're there next time?
It should be a situation. They want to set it up, and this is a problem that they have right now, is if you come to a school and you stay 5 years, you know, your red shirt plus your 4 years of eligibility, you should be able to make every trip in the conference, and every team in the conference should come to your home stadium once with the way they've got this set up.
Okay, that makes sense. This is complicated. Why does this have to be this complicated?
You know, you say that, but at the same time, like right now, Mississippi State hasn't been to Florida since 2010, and they don't go for another 2 years. State's only been to Tennessee once. They went in 2019. Prior to that, it was 2008 was the last time they were there. I mean, and the same with Ole Miss. Ole Miss played Kentucky in Oxford for the first time, I think, in over a decade last season. So, you know, that to me is, you know, you're playing some non-conference. State has played Southern Miss more than it's played Tennessee, and it's in the same conference as Tennessee. So, you know, they got to get rid of that. I think this is a good step going forward.
Okay, and we have you here to talk about March Madness, but I had to go to that first because it was kind of breaking this morning, and I know you guys are going to dig into it a lot deeper this afternoon on Sports Talk, so everybody needs to tune in and hear exactly how this is going to be laid out. Talking about March Madness, we've got both the men and the women from State making the trip, right?
Yeah, both teams are in the play-in games. Mississippi State men play tonight at 8 o'clock. Or 8:10, I guess, is the tip-off time that's scheduled right now in Dayton against Pitt. And then tomorrow night over in South Bend, Indiana, where the Notre Dame is hosting that regional, will be the playing game for Mississippi State versus Illinois in the women's bracket.
Now, there are 2 answers. I'm fully aware of this. There are 2 different answers to the question. So who do you think is going to win? There's the homer answer. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. State's going to win them both, right?
Hopefully, that would be better okay. For our podcasting purposes.
Yeah,
sure.
It's going to make it a much easier week for you if they both win.
Yeah.
But realistically, breaking it down, what do the chances look like? How does this shape up for both the men and the women?
We'll start with the women. I mean, they're playing a really tough team. Illinois has been getting votes for the top 25. I'm really surprised to see them in the play-in game. I thought they would probably be easily in the tournament, but I thought State was going to be in the tournament and in the field of 64 as well. I think their loss in the SEC tournament to Texas A&M, it hurt them. It hurt them that late in the season. I would say Mississippi State, the women have a higher ceiling than the men just because they don't have the same flaw that the men do, which is the men can't score in bunches. The women can score, but the women are more inconsistent week in and week out. If you told me somebody was going to lose today, I probably would pick the women. But if you told me one of these teams made the second weekend, I would probably also pick the women because I think they have the higher ceiling. For today or for these next two games, I think the women will probably go down in the first game. The men have a great shot. Pitt is a team that's a really good offensive team and a really poor defensive team. Mississippi State is a team that's a really poor offensive team and a really good defensive team. And I tend to think defense just tends to travel better than offense does. So I think if State can hold that Pitt offense down, they're going to find a way. And I think Pitt is going to struggle with Tolu Smith, especially if their big man, who has an incredible name, Dave. Have you heard this guy's name?
No.
It's Federico.
It is not.
That's his name. It is his name. That's their starting center's name. So if he is day-to-day right now with a leg injury, if he can't go tonight, they really don't have the depth and the strength inside to match up with Tolu Smith. So State has a good chance to get a win tonight and move into the field of 64. I think the women can win, but I would pick the men over the women right now.
The center's so nice, they named him twice.
They named him twice.
That's perfect. Now, you bring to mind, it's a truism and it's a cliche for football, but does it apply for basketball as well? The old saying that offense wins games, defense wins championships. Do you think that applies to basketball too?
It does in a manner of speaking, but at some point you have to be able to make shots. And this Mississippi State team, at the end of the day, they're really hampered in that. You know, they just can't make shots. And they get good looks. If you watch them play, they miss a ton of open shots. And that's just something at this point in the season. You're 33 games in. This is the tournament. You just are what you are at that point. There's really no fixing that. So State, that's why I have trouble seeing State making it out of the first weekend. They could win today. They could even win on Friday and get into the second round. But if they play a team like Xavier that can make shots consistently, I mean, it just becomes a situation where if the game gets into the 70s, you don't think Mississippi State can win. And that's not a lot of points. That's not a high scoring game by any stretch of the imagination. But State would struggle in that kind of game.
And I saw one stat, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the State's men rank the worst in the country in three-point percentage. Is that true?
Dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last. 363 out of 363, I believe.
Ouch.
That's just they're like I said, they have a fatal flaw. If you watch State play, almost all of their shots are either within 3 feet of the basket or an open three. And if they shot the ball the way Pitt does, for example, Pitt shoots 46% from the field and 35% from three. If State shot like that, they would have been a 1 or a 2 seed the way they play defense. I mean, that's how bad they've been offensively. The fact that they're even in the tournament as bad offensively as they are is a real testament to Chris Jans and the job that he's done this first year in Starkville.
Well, we're going to put that to the test about defense winning championships just to see if they can make it past the first round here. Because State, we talk about their flaws, but the State men have an incredible defense. They do.
Yeah, it's one of the best in the country, and it's been with them all year. There's only been a couple of games this year where defensively that I felt like they didn't show up. That was at Tennessee, and it was in the last game of the regular season at Vanderbilt where they gave up a lot of three-pointers. This Pitt team likes to shoot the three ball too, so that's something to watch for them. They've got 4 or 5 guys in their lineup who are 33% shooters from three-point range. So they spread it around. They get a lot of points and they get a lot of looks.
One of the best defenses in the country, but they still have their work cut out for them for this one. So the men tip off tonight, or is it the women tonight, or both?
The men are tonight, 8 o'clock, 8:10 tip on True TV, and of course you can always listen on your local SuperTalk affiliate if it's a Mississippi State affiliate. And then the women are tomorrow night, I think 5 p.m. tip over in South Bend.
Well, I'm hoping you have an incredibly easy week for the podcast, because that would mean they both won. And you get to have a much better conversation that way, right?
Yes. People like to listen to good news more than bad news most of the time.
Every single day. Sports Talk this afternoon at 3 o'clock. You guys already have a lot to talk about today. It's going to be a good show. Everybody needs to tune in.
Absolutely.
And catch and see what's going on. Brian, always enjoy talking to you, man.
Thanks, Dave. Great to talk to you, man.
Anytime, sir, anytime. We will continue here in the Element Well Studios on middays on SuperTalk Mississippi. Right after this, keep it here.